Hello and welcome to the Nitro RX podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Nabila and Joining me, as always, is my brilliant co-host, the one and only Thiemo Albers Daily. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, thank you, Nabila. How about yourself?
I am doing well, thank you. I'm coming off a little bit of a hectic run, but excited to go through this review. I think it's going to be good.
Definitely.
As I just mentioned, we're back to review all of the action for the first round of the new season of Nitrocross. And to help us out with that, we've also enlisted the help of one of the drivers. He raced in the incredibly fun Baja Buggy category last weekend and got the podium on Friday. It's none other than Ryan Rodriguez. Welcome to the podcast. How are you?
How's it going, guys? I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We're glad to have you. All right. So we're just going to get you a little bit accustomed to how we do things at Nitro. We're going to jump into the review then, but going to kick off with a couple questions for you. Thiemo, do you want to go first?
Yeah, so we always like to ask any driver that we chat to on here if they can describe Nitro for us in just 3 words. Go for it.
Full sends.
Full send. Does it in 2?
Does it in 2?
Full sends only. There you go.
Even better.
I like that. And then one of my favorite questions to ask is, if you could pick any rally car and any rally in the world, what are they going to be?
Honestly, coming for more of an off-road desert background, the rally stuff's kind of new to me. And from being around last free Nitro events and seeing the rally cars and stuff, I'd have to say a good start or something I want to try. Definitely like one of the next cars. Those look really fun and just look like a blast.
They had a super start this weekend, so it was very exciting to see them get like straight up to top gear of where we expect them to be from day one, essentially. So I can definitely back that choice.
It looked like a really fun car to drive, and definitely want to see that one day.
That'd be cool. So hopefully see you step up from the Baja Buggies into the next category in the next couple of years, maybe.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. That'd be a dream come true,
Awesome. Well, with our usuals out of the way, shall we dive into our Oklahoma review?
Let's do it. So we've got a little bit of news to start off with, Nabila. Do you want to kick us off on that one?
Yeah, absolutely. So drivers were asked ahead of racing who they think will make an appearance this season, and the consensus of an answer seemed to be Kimi Räikkönen. Ryan, who would you like to see join the Nitrocross season for Baja Buggies or any of the other categories?
For the Baja Buggies, man, I think some of the couple of Groupe E drivers were walking around the bugs and liking them. It'd be cool to see them in there. The bugs are we have no power steering. We're on factory 1970 drum brakes, so we have nothing really fancy in the cars. We're just driving them. It's a little tough, but to drive something like that, it's definitely a lot of work. And if you could drive one of those, you pretty much drive anything.
Robin Larson was having a bit of a look at them towards season finale and thinking if he could have wrapped things up early, he would have gone for a go on those. So maybe this season is the season for it. And failing that, I'd like to see Kimi in a Baja Buggy if we can't get him in the proper Group E category.
Yeah, you're a classic Volkswagenist out there, banging doors with some of your friends and racing. It's can't really describe it. It's not the fastest car out there, but the amount of fun and joy it brings you, and you're driving the car as hard as you can without putting it on its lid. It's pretty dang fun.
No, definitely. Group E then did have a new format for this season, and it took a little bit of time for me to get my head around it. I'm not totally still convinced I've managed to do that. I think that's going to be a watch more of it and figure it out kind of thing. But just to go briefly through it, you've got qualifying battle brackets now determined by practice times, and it's kind of fastest to slowest determines a ranking from what I could make out. Then you've got the qualifying brackets sorts out the grids for the rest of the racing the following day with the LCQs, then still playing a role into who makes it into the final. It's, as I say later in the review for some of the Group E stuff, it's still a little bit difficult to get your head around, and I think it made sense on paper, and then I watched it, and it made less sense, which is really weird because normally we say the other way around.
Yeah, definitely. Like we had a couple free practices, then we had a couple time practices, which were our qualifying into our main event, and the format. They gave us a lot of track time, which is really, really good. And a track like that, it was so big and new to me at least. And they did a good job on giving us track time and and getting used to feel for the track. And as far as the qualifying, we only had 8 cars in our class, so it was pretty easy. Like Group B2, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to see that you're getting more track time as well, I think. And as well, that we got to see all of it on the feed as well, because we're not used to seeing all of it necessarily, from including the practice. So it's kind of like, oh no, what do I watch now? Do I need to watch this? Do I want to watch this?
Yeah.
Do you want to watch this? Then you're like,
It was live on Rumble, though, the whole day, correct?
Yeah, I was going to say, the stream that I was going on like 8 hours long, like, oh my days.
And all the practices and stuff. That's pretty awesome.
It was pretty awesome indeed. Although the one thing that I will just say before we move on slightly is the graphics timings went a bit haywire on the Friday, which was quite amusing because even Coley and Jared were having trouble in the commentary box. They didn't know where anyone was, and they were going old school there, trying to recognise, especially the Baja Buggies, by like, right, which colour is that? Oh no, there's 2 yellow ones. We don't know who they are. We'll figure that out later. Process of elimination.
Yeah. There's a couple different color bugs, and it was.
Yeah, it does. It gets a little bit complicated when you're trying to spot things from a commentary perspective and all of that, and even follow sometimes as a spectator. But early days on the Rumble thing, I think it's a good switch for them. Gives them the chance to actually go through everything all day and have that constant coverage, which is incredible for fans. So obviously, a couple things that need some tweaking. But as we know, Nitro seems to listen to our podcast and take these things on. So
I'm expecting. I will say is that after it being on YouTube last year, and it was kind of on a few different channels in America, I was a bit apprehensive with the whole Rumble thing because I was like, oh no, does that mean now I can't watch it over here in the UK? I'm going to have to figure this out. And no, it's just, you don't even need to pretend you're in another country with a VPN or anything. You can just watch it for free regardless of where you are, it would appear. So I was like, excellent. Got a big tick from me. That's all I needed. Everything else, do what you want.
Yeah, I know it was free on Rumble. I didn't get a chance to experience it because I was there, but I had a handful of friends here at home, and they were watching on Rumble, and they said it was a great time, and it was great. And maybe only thing I get to say for next time maybe is if we can get with the announcers before and know our cars and drivers, so they can get a feel for, oh, it's Ryan on the orange bug, it's Kyle on the gray bug, but they did a good job, and there's always room for improvement, and can't wait for the next one to be bigger and better.
What about a suggestion we get a big painted sticker on the hood of the car of your face, and so we can spot immediately which driver's which?
Yeah, I think the roof for sure, and maybe underneath
the roof. Yeah,
you can see who it is.
We'll move on to Friday's action then, which we'll start with Group E. I'll just take a quick reminder, through all of that. We had Kevin Eriksson winning the first battle there. I'm kind of going to skip over practice a little because I still need to figure that out, as I mentioned. Fraz won Battle 2 by a slim margin with Chris Meek in P2. Nabila will be very happy with that. And Connor Daly making his debut after switching from IndyCar in P3. So not a bad start from any of them. It was kind of nice to see the older crowd kind of just picking up where they left off, and Connor Daly just kind of slotting on in their early doors. Andres Backwood won the third battle. Oliver Eriksson had a puncture, but then he managed to get P2, and Travis Pastrana and Ollie Bennett both DNF. So it was a little bit easier for Backwood in that sense, but it's still Nitro. You still got to survive the short race because it can go wrong pretty quickly. And as I said, I'm not entirely sure how this happened because despite watching it, I just must have missed something. But Travis was the top qualifier. He managed to get it, which I kind of hoped he would, considering he built the track and it's his whole baby. But I was still a little bit confused how that happened. But I'm very happy for him regardless.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was a fun intro to Friday. As always, they kind of come out guns blazing. It was having high hopes for Travis, being the fact that he built his own track. So it was an interesting thing to see what happened over the whole weekend with that. But yeah, shall I jump into next, or Ryan, do you want to jump in on anything that you saw from Friday in the Group E? I don't even know if you get to watch it, actually. That's a really good question.
Yeah, I did get a chance to watch a little bit at Friday. We had practicing in the morning, and then we dealt with some rain from our first practice to our second practice. So our second practice was like a mud bog because the track is like a lot of clay, and it doesn't absorb water. So the water kind of sits either really, really slick or it's really, really dry. There's no in between. And so our second practice, I don't think Group E, I think we were the only practice after the rain because of the track condition until it cleared up a little bit. But
because it wasn't tricky enough in the bugs as it was anyway, so let's throw a bit more of bad weather at you just to really push it out there.
Yeah, we're pretty light and have a lot of horsepower. So in that thick mud, we were just like even during practice, just trying in a straightaway, my car was just going sideways, barely making it over hills, just tired this whole time. I was like, dang, I should have brought some mud tires. But luckily the track dried out for their main events, and it was a great race.
Awesome. We're going to quickly take you through now a little bit of update on the next that happened on Friday. So Lia Block won Heat 1 in her next debut, which was really cool to see her doing so well, stepping up from what was the SXS last year, right?
I told you it's tricky to say.
Yeah, you're right. It is. I'll go. I'm now getting tongue-tied. Anyway, then Casper Janssen won semi-final 1, and that gets him pole position as a result. And Henderson jumped too hard over the jump and broke his car a little over the finish straight. So that was
classic NRX Next.
I just don't think that's what he wants, but
No, it was a nice way to kick that back off as well. Kind of everyone, it did seem a little bit, I think maybe this is something that we can add on to what we were saying in our previous episode, that the shortish break-ish in the grand scheme of things has kind of worked quite nicely in terms of making that seamless transition, because it doesn't seem like anyone's out of practice. It's just kind of, let's get back into it, and it's a new track, and that's the only difficulty there, really. Lia seemed like she knew what she was doing immediately. Obviously, she's been off doing some other racing in the gap as well, but everyone else kind of seemed, let's just get on with it. Henderson maybe a bit too keen there at the end, but again, you get that with Nitro all over the place anyway, so that wasn't necessarily something out of character.
No, absolutely not. And I mean, some of these drivers came from a series of Next just straight into it, so it's possible that he just went a little bit too hard too soon. Do you know what I mean? And they'll get the feel of it again and get back into the swing of things. We do have like longer periods of time in between, so it's probably kind of nice that the end of season's not got that massive of a break, because sometimes the rounds in season is like 2 or 3 month gaps. So I feel like this is probably on the shorter side sometime, like even for a end of season to the start of season. But yeah, I'll let you take on that.
It's another thing we'll just have to get our head around.
Oh, absolutely. But I'm going to let you take on the SXS category.
Glad you said it, because now I don't have to. But I will use the segue of talking about people who maybe got a bit too keen a bit too quickly, because there was a red flag straight away in semi-final 1 on Friday due to Tom Williams, Letitia Boconic, and Terry Madison all having separate incidents on the track and all basically DNFing as a result. Kind of entertaining to watch from the perspective, oh, okay, that's you. And then Coley and Jared realizing, oh, that's a separate thing. Okay, I didn't realize that. And then there's another thing. And like, okay, right, we need to just slow the heck down here and figure out what's been happening here. But in amongst all that chaos, newbie to the SXS category, Kanan Baker, he won semi-final 1, and most of the cars we'd seen on track at that point. So that was great in terms of numbers, and it was a lot of fun. And it's exactly what we were kind of hoping for from continuation from last year. You remember that was my favorite category, more or less, racing-wise last year. There was just constant chaos there. It was just a nice kind of... It's weird to see it as a feeder series, that in the same way that it's weird to see the NRX Next category as a junior series to the Groupe E, because they're just visually different. Whereas if you take Formula One and the feeder series, that's a lot more easier to distinguish. So I just love that this is the practice. If you can drive that, you can go into this later, but it's just kind of deal with the chaos first.
Absolutely. No, that category is just fun all around. I'm sure, Ryan, you would fancy yourself in one of those at some point as well.
Oh yeah, anything with horsepower and four-wheel drive, you can rip around track like that, I'd take it to see if I can get it.
Well, you'll be happy to know we're now moving to your category. The Baja, is it Baja Buggies or Baja Bugs? Like, what are we what is the classification?
They have us as under Baja Buggies, but it's Baja Buggies. It's the same thing. It's
cool.
Our class originates. It's called Class 11 in desert racing, which is a stock Volkswagen.
Not got the same ring to it though.
What's that?
Not got the same ring to it as Baja Buggies though. Class 11.
Yeah. See everyone sees an off-road bug, I think a Baja Bug. So that's what we are, Baja Bugs.
Cool. So yeah, Blake Wilkey won the Baja Buggies final, and we had Ryan Rodriguez, who's with us today, in P2, and Carl Zerkis in P3. So I'm going to ask you, how did you find your first day of racing, Ryan, and what was the first round like? And tell us a bit about your whole experience from the weekend.
Yeah, so on Friday, like I said, it was we had a raining Friday morning during our practices, and it made for bad track conditions. And just for our time from our last practice to our main event, we were all pretty worried because some of us didn't have mud tires, and we were wondering what we're going to do, start grooving our tires to make some mud trains out of them for the mud. But luckily the weather got hot, and they ran some couple practices after us, which threw all the mud off the track, and it made for some pretty good track conditions for us coming into that race. And that race was a fun one. Blake and I, we battled it out for a little bit, and just trying to get used to the track, and a few little mistakes I could have capitalized on, and I couldn't. And Blake got the win, and Kyle got third, and I got second.
What was that descent like going off the start there? Because it looked pretty steep from just the pictures of you, but I imagine if you're in the car, that must be a bit more steep.
That start was fun. I wish we could start a little more back, get more speed to jump off it, but that's just me.
Make a little better show. What Wilkey did on the next day.
Yeah, started the way back and hammer down. But yeah, the start, we were able to grab second gear, almost grab third, going halfway down the hill, and so wide and a straight shot. You could carry momentum pretty dang hard in turn one, a Talladega turn, and if you hit it right and ride the berm, you can get some good speed down and going into turn 2 and 3. It was a fun start.
How were you feeling off of the back of your second in this? Like, are you happy with where you were? Were you disappointed? Obviously, you wanted to win. Everyone wants to win, but are you happy with how your first round went?
Yeah, I'm happy with myself. Win would be amazing, but second place isn't too bad either. And it was a great battle, and I gave my all, and everyone else was driving as hard as I can. So it was awesome. Good race.
That's awesome. So we're going to segue back into a little bit of a Saturday review for you. I'll kick that off with Groupe E. And so Andreas Backerud won Heat 1. Both Excite Energy cars retired from Heat 2.
Which that probably caused you a bit of pain.
Yeah, we don't want that. We were hoping, our prediction of our Excite was going to do a little bit better. I'm taking that one to heart anyway. But Fraz won Heat 2 with Daly in P2. And Robin Larson easily won Heat 3. Martel got the last chance qualifier with Daly in P2 and Bennett with a puncture in P3. The Excite boys are just not having it easy this weekend, are they?
Their bad luck seems to have continued at least into the first round, and hopefully it's just they're getting the cobwebs rid of that, so that we can, from Salt Lake City, we can be like, okay, that's done now. Have nice times.
Exactly. They got it all out in the first round, and now it's just smooth sailing for the rest of it. Then Kevin Eriksson and Travis Pastrana came together in T1 in the last chance qualifying 2 in a big shunt that saw Travis flip and Kevin's wheel and tire come clean off the car and roll down the whole track. Not sure what happened after that, as it didn't seem to restart, but the ending was Fraz in P1, Larson in P2, Kevin Eriksson in P3. Pretty good turnaround for him after what happened in the last chance qualifying. And then Martel P4, Pastrana P5, Meek in P6, Backerud in 7, and Daly in 8. So what are our thoughts on that finish?
On Saturday, I was able to watch the Groupe E final, and it was a great race to watch. Fraz got out front in the beginning, and he held his line the whole way. I know the couple guys gave him a run for his money there for a little bit, and he's able to keep it up front. And it was pretty cool to see that, and to have him see the win. It was pretty cool.
That crash between Kevin and Travis was also pretty mega earlier on in the day as well. It kind of, like you were saying, you can carry a lot of speed down into that first turn, and it seems that they kind of forgot about the turn and just kept going.
Yeah, the track was so wide, and there's a lot of speed, so you definitely can get in some door banging and on each other's bumpers there. Yeah. At higher speeds too.
No, then obviously. I just want to give you. I wanted to give you a shout out to give Chris Meek a shout out, because he had a very good strategy with this joke about getting him into P2, but the damage then did cost him podium. I was like, he got close enough. I was thinking immediately as soon as he started rolling, like, oh, Nabila's not going to be happy. He was getting so close to that then, and then it just got taken away. I'm like, this poor man.
I know. He just can't get anything. And then on top of that, there was a bit of beef that happened. We love a little bit of racing drama, hey? But there's a bit of beef between Backerud and Meek. They came together on Saturday and they both blamed each other. and they were going after each other a little bit on social media that if you haven't seen, it's actually highly worth going back and looking because it's rather amusing. And then it was as RX Cartel kept commenting, proper popcorn stuff. Chance of a boxing match and a slap contest at the next Nitro round. Ryan, what was your thoughts on that whole little debacle between them?
I personally get a chance to see the incident, but I did see some stuff on social about them going back and forth, and I guess I'll just have to watch the replay and then see it. But in racing, you're driving as hard as you can, and of course you're gonna have rivalries, butt heads with people, and I guess let's see who the faster guy is next round and see who'll take it.
Who's your money on?
That's a tough one. Putting me on the spot.
I could save you if you want and say we put a poll up on our Instagram page.
Yeah, let's put a poll up. Let's see what everyone takes.
We put one up. We put one up yesterday, and it was heavily in Backwood's favour. But I don't know if that was for a boxing match or for a slap bet, because then I'd be intrigued to see. I think it might be one apiece then, depending if they did both. And I don't know how you then sort that out. Maybe go and sort it out on track afterwards. Or you get those giant foam hands and start hitting each other.
On Andreas' side, I was able to talk to him at one of the Nitro events and seeing his background about him racing, rally VWs in his country, Sweden, I believe. And it's kind of neat. He drives the same bugs we do, or he did before, so pretty cool.
So got to go team Backwood then, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then that closed up with the fastest lap going to Fraz and the My Energy overtake to Kevin Eriksson.
It was a pretty sweet overtake, if it does be said as well. I can't remember which part of the weekend happening, but it was just kind of sliding it as you kind of had to on all areas of this track quite neatly around the inside of one corner, I think, and just snuck on by. It was kind of very, very Eriksson, brother.
Absolutely.
But then we'll move on again just quickly to the NRX Next category. Lia Block did, on track, win the final with the fastest lap, and impressively, all of her laps were within 0.5 of a second of each other, joke lap aside. But she had a bit of a coming together with Jimmy Henderson. Again, rough weekend for him in some ways, but he kind of got a bit back. She got penalised post-race, ended up off the podium, so Lane Michaela ended up inheriting the win with Eric Gordon P2, and Jimmy Henderson then managed to limp home in P3, so I think he's probably happy with how that turned out, considering he was looking to have quite a torrid weekend after all of that. But again, like we said on about the Friday round, it was a very enjoyable first foray back into this whole category, and it's a shame that Lia was denied so early on, but at the same time, if this is how she's starting, that sets up a lot of promise for later on in the season.
Oh, 100%. She's doing fantastically coming in. I mean, she's also doing some rallying off on the side, so I feel like both of these are going to complement each other quite well. Like hopping in between. I mean, any seat time is good time. Do you know what I mean? So she came from a rally into a Nitro weekend, and I'm pretty sure she's doing something at Pikes Peak this weekend. So any type of seat time, I'm sure Ryan will tell you as well, like seat time is key. As much as you're getting, that's always going to help you progress. And I'm really happy to see where she is now and excited to see what she's going to do for the rest of the season. Definitely. But yeah, so we'll quickly run through the SXS category before we jump back into your category, Ryan. But so Tom Williams rolled and DNF from the final, which is a shame. It's funny though, we spoke to him last year and he did say he wanted to end up in one of these. So glad to see it happen. Just not glad to see how his first round went for him. He'd been saying that he was happy he hadn't rolled yet, and then
he rolled.
Oops. You know what? The funny thing
shouldn't say it until afterwards.
No, you never say it. You never say it. Oh, I haven't rolled, and then you do, and then you're like, oh crap. But
it's a SpongeBob thing of 5 seconds later.
Yeah, and then that category, because I do not want to repeat its name again. Kanan Varka in P1 in the final with Tyler Ramaride in P2 and Ben Meyer in P3. I'm going to apologize now if I butchered anyone's name in that.
No, I think you got all of them fine, and again, it was quite entertaining go off it on Saturday. Nice to see Ben up there as well. We had a couple of new names in there that hadn't been in Nitro last year, and again, we knew Tom from when he was on the podcast talking to us, so it's nice that he's been able to get the opportunity he wanted to there, even if it didn't quite pan out the way he wanted it to. But again, just a really solid second outing to finish off the first round for them, so can't really complain too much.
Absolutely. Now you can swing back into the Baja Buggies.
I was going to say, you were, Ryan, you you kind of set up a bit of drama in the final here because you tipped over your car and red flagged the whole thing. What happened?
Yeah, that was lap one. We're coming around to the start and finish jump, and they had a like little 2 lanes basically. You could go wide and take a smooth lane out, or you can go inside and there's a little tabletop, and that transition into the next lane. So I was taking the outside lane. Yep, meant to take the outside lane, try to give you a little more speed, but I cut it a little too in towards the tabletop and kind of rode it off camber. And when I was off camber, the track was pretty blue grooved and pretty slick, and my rear end just over rotated a little bit. And if you see, I try to crank it over to correct it, and Wilkey came past me, and my bumper just barely caught his tire, and enough to throw the car more aggressively than I was anticipating, and went over on its side onto its roof.
However, as a result of that, you did give us as fans something excellent to watch as a result of that by taking yourself out, because then with the puncture that he got, he had to go back and change the tyre by himself, came into the race last moment possible, sending it down the start jump in absolute style, 36.8 seconds down, but within kind of visual distance just about of the back of the pack. Ended up having to slow down, however, and being a lap down because of pressing the accelerator so much that he actually bent it and had to stop on track to then fix it and try and kick it back into place, which showed a good story. And it's very Formula 11 stuff, according to Jared. And Coley's now starting a fan club that we can all join about Wilkey. And he does get jump of the day, but it did mess things up a little bit. And because of all that, Ryan, maybe you'll be able to help us out with this a bit. What was the result in the end? Because I don't think we saw it on the Rumble live stream.
Yeah. So we restarted the race, and Wilkey was a little behind changing his tire, and he entered the race. And we were battling out for a few laps, everybody. And Wilkey was back there, and unfortunately had throttle pedal issues. Wasn't able to keep up with the rest of the pack. And we battled out for, I believe, 2 or 3 laps, and then we had one other car throw it on its roof, and yeah, basically after that, we ran out of time, and as we finished that lap, that was our finishing order. And
so what was it?
I got P1, Cowboys got P2, and Kyle got P3.
Not a bad recovery from you then.
Yeah, from being able to roll, still win a race. I had an angel watching over me, and it was just great.
There's Nitro and a few more words, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But it's the fact that you just went, casually. I just came P1, I tipped over my car. But yeah, I just came P1. Like, oh, okay. We didn't know that, so that's awesome. Congratulations.
It was definitely a great time, be able to roll and still be able to win. That's definitely something to be proud of. Or proud
to change my driver of the weekend, honestly.
Yeah, that's funny. But yeah, that will segue us really nicely into driver of the weekend.
I would say now I have to kind of change it because that's just an impressive turnaround. I kind of have to say Ryan for that. I had Blake Wilkey just for entertainment purposes for Nitro there and kind of embodying the whole Nitro thing there. But again, Ryan, you've kind of done that as well in terms of you can take yourself out a little bit of the equation, come back, win the race, and also provide us with entertainment with another driver in the process. So job's done.
Yeah, it was a great time. That's the only thing I can think of when I'm sitting in the car. I was like, as soon as you're looking at the ground, you're sitting there like, dang it, like, lost your chance. What do you do now? Because when I rolled, I thought I had a flat tire. So it felt like I had a flat tire. So I was at this point, I was like, hopefully get the car back over. And sitting there thinking like, oh, how my tires look. Kyle stopped, and a couple of the track crew stopped, and like, oh, everything looks fine. Like, all right, well, if you flip me back over, I'm still gonna go. Like, oh yeah, just go back to the start. Like, all right, hurry up, flip me back over. Let's get this thing fired up. We're going again. We're still trying, and
I love that.
That's what we did. And we got the win.
Since you did that, well, I had to give some love to Fraz since we blatantly forgot about him in our last podcast. It was kind of funny. We were pretty sure we saw that Fraz was entering it, but it just kind of slipped our minds. So I'm going to say he was driver of the weekend for me. Very impressive coming back. He was already pretty strong last year, but he just said, I'm going to give it to Robin Larson and I'm going to take this. So very happy with how that. And then obviously, as I mentioned earlier, I'll give Lia a little shout out again. But for exactly the same purposes I said before, so I'm not going to repeat myself.
Ryan, did you have a driver in a different category that stood out for you this weekend?
Probably watching that last main event on Saturday with Fraz winning and his family and crew sitting right in front of us, and how excited they were and nervous they were watching him with the lead and holding the whole time. It was pretty cool to see that, and their emotions after the race. It's pretty awesome to see when their family's there, and
No, that's pretty cool.
Awesome, yeah. So I was happy for them.
So Coley was dragging them in onto the coverage as well, kind of in the tent, because that's where they're kind of pulling all the drivers now. Like, no, come on, you don't have a choice in this. You're coming into the picture as well with all of us. So it's a really nice kind of family atmosphere they've got going there.
Yeah, that was cool to see.
I will just do a quick championship standings top 5 rundown, and I've got points, Nabila. I just don't know how we were. I don't know how we get them all yet. I know how we get some of them, but we'll work this out. Fraz is in P1 with 76 points already, because that's just the kind of season and kind of racing series we have. Kevin Eriksson P2 with 65 points. Robin Larson Hartness Heels in P3 with 64. Travis Pastrana in P4 with 56 points. And Backwood rounding out the top 5 on 47 points. So still very much all to play for. And Coley was saying that there are a lot of points available every weekend. So while the gaps look big already, they're really not in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, isn't it funny? Like, we can't explain it to you why Robin Larson came second but finished third in the total points. Like, that just doesn't make sense. Nitro, you really need to do some explaining as to how these points add up. I don't know if you know, Ryan, how these points are allocated, or if it's just kind of like you just get told it's this.
I'm not exactly sure how the Nitro point system works, but coming from race organizations, they might be doing like qualifying practice time. So
I saw that they got some for qualifying, but then it wasn't clear what the difference was with that between what you get for the race. And it's kind of like it's one of those old textbook math questions. Like, I don't need that right now. Just tell me. I don't need to work this out.
That's the one thing I think of. Maybe that's what it is, or qualifying times and stuff like that would affect our points.
Yeah, that was our assumption. But, we'd like some concrete clarification as to what you actually get for winning a race. But I'm going to give you some final thoughts, Ryan, and what your expectations for your season are.
Really excited to run the rest of the season with Nitro and our next round in Utah. It's going to be a pretty fun one. And I'm really excited to see how our Baja Bugs can impact the Nitro world and give you guys a great thing to watch. So I'm really grateful for being able to race with you guys, and I know we all are. And we're going to be our best to try to keep it action-packed and fun racing.
Glad to hear it. And I just quickly ask, are you leading the Baja Buggies right now, or where did that place you? I know you won the overall, but obviously, as we see, the points are weird. So
yeah, I would think so, because round 1 Wilkey won, I got second.
Mm-hmm.
Round 2 I won, and I believe Wilkey had some issues, so you got P5 or P6. So I would assume I'd be points leader, and it'd be great to see that.
Absolutely.
We'll try and get something on that one for you.
Definitely. But that is all we've got time for this week's episode. If you don't already, go and follow us on our socials and leave us some comments about what you thought about this episode in the comments where you can. And if you want more from Ryan, Nabila, and I in the meantime, check out the notes for details, and we'll be back soon for some more Nitrocross content, so be sure to check that out. And we just want to say a massive thank you, Ryan, for joining the show today. We hope you enjoyed it, and we're very excited to see how you fare the rest of the season.
I can't wait. Thanks, guys, for having me, and look forward to doing this again.